Hi everyone, it is Tuesday, November 16th, and we just finished our board meeting for the Pima County Board of Supervisors. Thank you for your attention and for listening in on what I think are some of the highlights. Well, it was, our meeting started at 9 o'clock, ended at about almost 1 o'clock. We had a lot of conversation. We had a really long executive session, longer than we normally do, and so for those of you listening in, you might have wondered, like, what were they focused on? So I do want to point out, point of personal privilege, right at the beginning of the meeting, we actually have a Casa Alitas donation drive. We're at 20 different locations. You can check out Adelita Escrijalva. You can Google Pima County Board of Supervisors and click on my name there. We have 20 different locations. One is here at the Board of Supervisors lobby. We also are collecting at different libraries and the ward offices. And what we're really doing is their greatest need is for socks, specifically adult and children, but adult men. They're really low on those, and underwear. And we're also collecting other items that are gently used that can be layered, specifically because it's getting colder, but their specific ask was for socks and underwear. So if you can donate anything, we would greatly appreciate it. I know Casa Alitas would too. And so we actually had a presentation by Chief Probation Officer David Sanders regarding probation. And it was a kind of a longer presentation. And then we received a fairly lengthy report on that. We had a question, there was a question about, and it was one of the bigger items on the agenda regarding Cotero Farms. And there's a request to change the zoning there. That item was actually continued to December 7th as a request by the property owner. We did receive an overwhelming number of concerns about doing anything with this property. And so what I'm hoping to do is ask Pima County to get into negotiations with the landowner and purchase the property in order to protect it, because I do think that it's a special species that's sectioned there. Regardless of what you do to try to mitigate the damage, once you go in and start ripping up native habitat, you can't replace it. And so I'm really hoping that we can just move forward with protecting that property. Pima County actually has 2 parcels that they purchased to protect that area, and I think it definitely deserves at least a conversation with the property owner, because I don't think that any rezoning is going to be as profitable as he'd like it to be, and I think that it's going to be important. We had an executive session regarding differential water rates, and so I can't really speak to that, but that was the item that we discussed in executive session. We did bring forward, District 5 brought forward a item decreasing the membership of the Pima County Fair Commission from 7 to 5, and that Board of Supervisors could each appoint and recommend their own person to be a part of that commission. We did receive a call-in by the president of the Fair Commission, Mr. Ham, who I think the impression was that he was blindsided by the request. But quite honestly, when we first joined the office, we had a list of appointees that had to be either extended because their appointment expired, or we had to appoint new people. And the Southwest Fair Commission was the only one that is a commission where the commissioners actually recommend their own replacements. And so it doesn't come to the board except for like sort of a formality, but we don't have any say in who's a part of that commission. And so I really do want to change the dynamics of that. And it wasn't anything specifically against any of those commissioners. I'm sure it felt that way, but really had to do with our office and District 5 having representation on that commission. And so that item was moved to January 4th to give an opportunity for staff to get together a proposal and sort of explain what is going on there. And we also had an item on raising the minimum wage, and unfortunately we took no action on that item. It was actually incredibly frustrating for me to sit through the arguments as to why we shouldn't move forward with this. One of the strongest arguments against moving forward with even getting together stakeholders to create a plan. That really was what the motion or what the item was geared towards. Supervisor Scott was very clear about his objection and that he wanted to move forward with a voter initiative, kind of like the city, like Fight for 15 did with the city. And my argument was, why go through that expense, and why don't we just, as a region, come up with a plan that makes a lot more sense for all of our community? Because our community is not the city and the county. Everyone that's a part of the city is a part of the county. And so conceivably, we'll have two different businesses that are across the street from each other paying different wages. And that just isn't good for our community. It isn't good for the people of our community, and it doesn't make sense. And so I'm hoping that we're going to be able to still gather these stakeholder groups together to appeal to each individual supervisors for us to come up with a plan. And so we can not identically implement Prop 206 in the city, but to look at those benchmarks, and when the minimum wage moves up and increases, that the county does something very similar. Those were the biggest items. We did have an item on COVID, and what we found out is in 2 weeks, Pima County has vaccinated 32% of our 5 to 11-year-olds, or 62,000 children. So good job to those students and those children and their parents who are taking them to be vaccinated. My son Joaquin was vaccinated as well. So in about a week, he'll get his second dose and be fully vaccinated in 2 weeks. And he's very excited. I talked to a lot of students who have had the opportunity to be vaccinated. And because the spread of COVID is continuing to increase at our schools, we're seeing a steady incline in the number of positive cases in Pima County. And it's starting to, we're getting back to those highs where positivity is incredibly high as well. So do what you can to stay masked and stay safe. But kudos to those 5 to 11-year-olds who are really doing their part here in Pima County. And I know that we're just going to continue to have an increase as rollouts and more comprehensive plans to reach those 5 to 11-year-olds where they're comfortable at their school is going to get easier. And so please look to our website, and our social media posts will continue to, on a weekly basis, update all of those locations. And then there was an appeal that I wanted to share from Supervisor Hines, who is a doctor at TMC, and really just reiterated that any stage of pregnancy, whether you are already pregnant, you are going to be pregnant, you're going through fertility, you're going to start the fertility process, to please get vaccinated. That he's seen a lot of babies that were born very early because their moms contracted COVID, and it's a very stressful time for everyone when you have, a baby that's born at 30 weeks, 32 weeks. It is a really long process, and if we can avoid that, let's try to as a community. And then in Pima County, we've been holding steady at about 83% for our vaccinated employees. And so that's been the case for about the last 2 weeks. We've had incremental increases, like maybe 1 or 2 in different departments, but overall we're at 83%. And so I'm looking forward to getting a recommendation from administration as to how we're going to address those employees who have high contact with the community and are still unvaccinated. But we did hear from Ms. Lesher today that we have departments that were analyzed with those employees that would have to get the COVID vaccine based on their contact with the community. And in some cases, those departments are 100% vaccinated. Those employees are 100% vaccinated. So I'm hoping that we'll just continue to move that pendulum up a little bit. And on a final note, I just want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. To those of us who celebrate Thanksgiving, I am incredibly thankful for my family, my friends, these wonderful people that I work with, and for all of you for making our community better. So thank you very much. Happy Hanukkah to our Jewish community. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season. We're going to continue to do little updates, and we're going to be doing donation drives for different community organizations that are doing their best to feed and clothe those in our community in need. And so look for updates on those. Thanks, my friends, for paying attention to Pima County politics. We'll talk soon.